Hi, I'm Matt Shervington and I want to take you on a wonderful adventure. We're going beyond tomorrow and it's going to be one heck of a ride. For starters, you're invited on board the airliner of tomorrow. It's bigger, more luxurious and carries more passengers than any aircraft ever built. This is the assembly line and I'll take you on a captain's tour a little later. Also in this program, Beyond Tomorrow Underwater, an Australian inventor trusts his life to a force field. And imagine this, the man who moves his bionic arms with the power of thought. Get behind the wheel of the car of tomorrow. The world's fastest land animal in a race for survival. Can genetic science save the cheetah?
Am I missing an eyebrow?
Can your mobile phone really cause this at a petrol station? Our experts put the myth to the test. And scientists finally cracked the big one, the self-chilling beer can.
Cheers.
We're at one of South Australia's favourite surfing haunts, and only crazy old surfers like us can go out in conditions like this. But even then, we won't be alone out there. There'll still be sharks. Okay, ready?
Let's go.
Woo, let's go. In fact, it was in these very waters where a great white shark recently took the life of a teenager.
It came out of nowhere. It didn't come from, you didn't cruise through the water. It came up from underneath. Grabbed him, took him under. You didn't see it for a second before it happened.
I'm with my mate Wayne Sutton, a veteran surfing champion and no stranger to this known shark territory.
They've been chased out of the water when guys were up the top of the cliff top yelling and screaming and saying, get out of the water, and we decided, well, we better do the right thing and get out.
In that case, Wayne was the one who got away. But in the past 5 years, sharks have killed 10 Australians. Most happened without warning. Greg Pickering cheated death off the West Australian coast.
It happened so quick, I didn't have time to even think. And it latched onto my leg and I felt the teeth go right into the bone.
It's cold. Now, no sharks today. Thanks to this weird device hanging off the back of the board, surfers may no longer need to worry about sharks. It's called Shark Shield, the brainchild of Mike Westcombe Down. How does it work?
Secret is that the sharks are equipped with these very sensitive receptors in their snout, ampullae lorenzini, little claws, and
What do they receive?
they pick up minute electrical signals, like, for instance, your heartbeat in the water as one gets closer.
It should be pretty strong, I imagine.
Well, it gets stronger, I believe. What our device does is propagate in the water an electrical field, which essentially overloads that system.
The battery-powered device uses 2 electrodes, one that's part of the leg rope and the other under the board. But the real test for the Shark Shield is in the water. First test was with a mako, a small fearless shark known for its curiosity.
From the moment I turn the unit on, the shark's behaviour changes. She's not prepared to come inside the Shark Shield's field. When she reaches the perimeter, you can see her react. She gets twitchy, her eyes flicker intermittently, and her jaw jams shut. She continues to circle. She wants to come closer, check me out, but the Shark Shield keeps her at bay.
Tests with white-tipped sharks also proved successful. It's like the animal hit an electric fence. But the ultimate test came with the ultimate killing machine, a great white. The Shark Shield was fitted to a bleeding tuna, and it wasn't long before this 4-metre predator arrived. The diver leaves his security cage and sits underneath the bleeding fish. The monster approaches. At the last moment, he switches on the Shark Shield. Its force field overpowers the great white's urge to eat. And that's good news for an old surfer like Wayne.
I've felt a lot more confident now when I go in the water, and I know then I can sort of surf spots where there's not too many surfers about, so you know you're all right by yourself.
Sea Change Technology expect to sell the Shark Shield for about $600 and are planning to have it ready for marketing by Christmas.
So it's sort of almost like you're surrounded by this force field.
It is. And may the force be with you.
I'm in Dayton, Tennessee. Population 6,000. And in this small American town lives a man with an amazing story to tell. This is Jesse Sullivan, dedicated grandfather and one of only 3 men in the world to pioneer a revolutionary technology. Jesse's bionic arm is controlled solely by the power of thought, and if proved a success, could change prosthetics forever. As it is, the arm is changing Jesse's life in ways he could never imagine. Jesse's story starts back in May 2001, when he was an electricity linesman in Tennessee. He was working on an overhead power line when something went terribly wrong.
Yeah.
Have you seen
I
it?
was getting it ready to re-energize the line. They said it looked like a Roman candle or something going off.
Jesse doesn't remember what happened, but somehow he touched the live wires.
It was about 3 weeks later when I woke up then in the hospital. Arm's been amputated. Somehow I knew it when I woke up.
Across the country, a medical team heard Jesse's story. The Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago was looking for a double amputee to trial a revolutionary bionic arm. Timing was everything for Jesse. Dr. Todd Kiken was ready to start clinical trials of a new neuroelectric device, or an artificial limb that worked using the power of thought.
What we did with Jesse was take the leftover nerves that used to go down to his arm and move them down to his chest muscle.
When you and I think close hand, our brains send an electrical signal down our nerves. When it reaches our hand muscles, they move. In Jesse's case, his brain is still sending the signals, but there is no hand muscle to read them. So Dr. Kiken has surgically relocated Jesse's nerves, so the signal now moves Jesse's chest muscle. These sensors then read the signals and relay them down the bionic arm. So when Jesse thinks close hand, the signals now go through his chest, are read by sensors and are passed to his new hand. As well as being able to close his hand, Jesse can bend his elbow and spin his wrist around just by thinking about it. The bionic arm has changed Jesse's life, and he can do things now that he couldn't do before. But it's not perfect, and life is still a struggle. Because Jesse is the first to trial the new technology, his feedback is critical.
Yeah, well, we changed that electrode out a while ago. It won't do anything. I mean, it's completely stopped.
Lately, the arm hasn't been as responsive as he'd like. Along with his wife, Carolyn, he's gone back to Chicago for a checkup.
So what seems to be the problem?
It's lost complete control of it, one of the sensors.
In the workshop, it doesn't take medical technicians long to swap out the faulty electrodes. One of the key features of Jesse's arm is that maintenance is relatively simple. Can I touch those? Mm-hmm. Can I go those?
No one gets close.
Oh, that is so amazing. Time to check the results. Is it good? Does it feel it's not hurting you now?
No, it's not hurting me now. Just good.
The new arm is a dramatic improvement on the old generation of prosthetic limbs. And Jesse should know, he's still got one of those as well. The main difference between the arms is how they're controlled. To move the old arm, Jesse has to physically manipulate levers with his chin.
When you go to lift, that's what happens.
Right, because you just lose all your control.
lose it.
To move the new arm, Jesse just has to think. For now, the science is only in the research and testing stage, and only 2 other patients besides Jessie have received a neuroprosthetic device.
That's perfect.
Great, we'll set those settings.
But as far as medical science is concerned, Jessie's prosthetic arm is the tip of the iceberg, with positive implications for all amputees, as well as quadriplegics and paraplegics.
This is the best thing that's happened to me since I had my accident, is to be able to control this away. It's hard to put it into words how it feels to be able to close, and it closes up just by doing it. It works better than I thought it would.
For this busy grandfather, it means life can be a little more normal. The lessons learnt by Jessie and his bionic arm will benefit generations to come.
Next, what it's like on board the Superjet. Tomorrow's airliner, today. First Officer Shervington, I think I need a few more years under my belt yet. And if you think your office has a flash photocopier, look what Dr. Caroline West found.
Creating 3D body parts from real people.
This is Airbus A380, a giant of the skies. The stats on this plane are phenomenal. 500 kilometres of wiring. The fuel capacity is equivalent to 21 road tankers. The takeoff thrust, the same as 2,500 family cars. Ping pong balls, it holds 35 million. Why anyone would want that many balls, I'm not sure. But as far as stats go, you realise it's big. It's around the same length as the jumbo jet, the world's benchmark in long-haul aircraft for 40 years, but has a full top layer and is wider. If every seat was economy, 853 passengers could fit on board. That's around 400 more than a jumbo. But Airbus reckon most airlines will carry around 550 passengers, once first and business class are added. But there's a bigger picture here than getting more people in the air. Airbus have beaten Boeing at the numbers game. They'll move more people, longer distances, using less fuel per person. I never thought the inside of a plane would be a destination in itself. But this is the next part of the A380 revolution. This is basically a mock-up of what... Wow, look, I mean, this space is unbelievable.
This is a first-class compartment.
This amount of space, it's
nice,
like, I mean...
open space.
Like this lounge here, this... Yeah. I mean, this is different. This is...
chill out during the flight, have a drink.
This is something that I haven't seen in an aircraft.
There's a trend in the marketplace now to encourage people to get out of their seats on long flights.
Exactly.
Yeah, meet with other
health
passengers,
issues,
health
those types
issues.
of things.
You know, just socialise and get out of their seat.
Book an airline seat today and you might get the choice of window or aisle. In the future, you'll be asked what bar do you want to be near. Every airline will be able to configure their A380 how they want. Exclusive features will be a big part of their marketing.
You can sit in that seat. Yep.
Thank you very much. I've promised you a captain's tour, and how's this? Right up in the pointy end. I'll help you as well as I can.
I'm sure you'll be a great help, Matt.
I'm with the man responsible for implementing the A380 into the Qantas Airlines fleet, Captain Mark Penckless.
Okay, Matt, here we are on the end of the runway, so let's take the A380 for a fly.
Let's take it for a burn. This is the A380 flight deck simulator. Every pilot, including more than 300 Qantas pilots, will have to earn their wings here before they're put in charge of the real deal.
The introduction of the A380 will be the biggest thing in aviation since the introduction of the 747.
All A380 customers, including Qantas, have had input into the features.
We've been involved with the cockpit design, the cabin design, the engineering systems, and that's really going to make our A380 very special to us.
Passenger comfort benefits from the A380 technology with advanced storm warning navigation.
Here we've got the normal horizontal picture of our weather radar, which shows the cloud ahead of us. On the A380, the new technology we have shows us a vertical display. We have the aircraft, and the green line there is actually showing us the level that we're flying at, and we can see whether we're going to fly above or below the weather. That just gives us more information to allow a smoother flight to avoid the turbulence. So here we go, getting quite low now.
Time to bring it back down to earth and check out the factory floor.
And touchdown.
Pilots can be trained up in 10 days, but putting the planes together is a different matter. We may be in France, but this is not a French plane. It's more like a giant cooperative of nations. The tail comes from Spain, the fuselage from Germany, the nose and the flight deck are from France, the wings are from the UK. There are parts on this plane that are from all over the world. Have a look at those wingtips. They come from Australia. The Airbus components are way too large for even the biggest transport planes to handle. So the roads and canals of Europe effectively become the conveyor belts of an enormous assembly line. Every part making its journey to final assembly in the giant hangars at Toulouse. And that's where I meet Airbus's Mark Cousin.
Better put this on again.
Ah, yes. Bit of protection, French style. Ooh la la.
Everything from the back of the passenger compartment of the aeroplane to the very tail of the aeroplane is carbon. So you can see this section here. This is entirely made of composite materials, carbon fibre.
Mark, the typical load is going to be 555 people. I mean, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, it is, but I mean, the aircraft is a true double-deck aircraft, so it won't feel like a single cabin of 555 people.
Right.
The upper deck of the aeroplane is very much like the current cross-section of an Airbus long-range aeroplane, like the A340, for example.
So for a passenger, it's going to feel like being in an ordinary passenger jet, but basically you've got another 200-odd people above you.
Yeah, absolutely.
April 2005, and the Airbus test team have the eyes of the world upon them for the A380's maiden flight. No passengers yet. Instead, 20 tonnes of flight test equipment was on board, including 6,000 sensors. Every panel, every weld will undergo rigorous scrutiny. Delivery of the A380 is scheduled for the first half of 2006. From that point on, international travel will never be the same again. Coming up on Beyond Tomorrow, the myth of the mobile phone and petrol stations. You'll never believe what they're doing with the world's first 3D colour photocopier. And is this the smartest beer can on earth?
You know, in the past, if you'd wanted to create a new prototype for a golf club, you would have had to have made a model by hand, a process that could have taken days or even weeks. But now things are very, very different. Just as you can design in 3 dimensions on your computer, this model that I'm holding here of a golf club head was actually made by a 3-dimensional printer that's not much bigger than your office photocopy machine. They look real, but these are actually solid models. Now there's a breakthrough in solid colour copying and printing. Each one of these was created by a machine that turns graphic designs into high-definition coloured models. Many of the models here are sophisticated prototypes, but I just have to share this one with you. It's actually my favourite. It's this wonderful mask, and it's such a perfect copy that when I first saw it, I had to tap it to make sure it wasn't the real thing. It's got beautiful, delicate colour and even wood grain. Hi, John. How you going?
Good morning. How are you?
Good. I'm in Massachusetts, home of a company called Z Corporation that's revolutionising the way products are designed. What are we looking at here?
Well, this is the latest design of the shoe, as you can see on the screen. And we had this printed out this morning, so
Wow.
it shows us all the features in color.
Isn't this fantastic? I just can't believe that this has come out of a photocopying machine. It's just amazing, isn't it?
Yep.
Who'd have thought it?
The printer works by taking a 3D computer or CAD image to create an exact model.
Now, to see how well this 3D printer really works, we've set up our own little challenge, and it starts halfway across the world.
In Sydney, we took an award statue and had it scanned from head to toe. Lasers mapped out every minute contour and cameras identified the various colours. And it was simply emailed to Massachusetts. So there's our beautiful statuette. You up to making it?
Absolutely. We loaded the part in. All we're going to do is hit 3D print and the machine will start running.
It's that easy?
It's that simple.
Wow, that's amazing. And how long do you reckon this is going to take to make?
This is going to run for about 5 hours.
To build a full colour model takes around the same time as it did to reproduce one with just a single colour.
Looks a bit like my inkjet printer with this, the way it's scanning across.
It's very much like your inkjet printer, except instead of printing on paper, we're printing on powder.
So how thick is each layer as you're putting it across?
Each layer is 1/10 of a millimetre thick.
It works like this. An arm spreads out a wafer-thin coat of powder, and at the same time it's bonded to the layer below with a kind of glue. Layer by layer, the model is built from the ground up. The software running this process tells us our statue will need 1,070 wafer-thin layers. It costs about 12 cents per cubic centimetre. And now, instead of an exterior coat of paint, the finished product will be in solid, high-definition colour. It's absolutely mind-boggling how far this technology has really come. These days, it's possible to make quick and inexpensive models of any body part, soft tissue, bone, as long as you have a 3D scan like a CAT scan or an MRI. So what this means is that heart surgeons can help pre-plan their surgery. Even researchers, medical researchers, can help custom-make joint replacements. The possibilities are really endless. And they're now refining a method to produce flexible solid colour models, making them another step closer to the real thing. And now the big moment of truth has arrived. It's 5 hours and more than 1,000 tiny layers later. So let's see if our statue's arrived all the way from across the Pacific. Oh, here we go. Here it comes. Ah! Look at that. Look at this. Ta-da! There he is. Needs a bit of dusting, but looks perfect. Perfect shape. Beautiful. From a 3D computer image emailed from Australia to this. Not a shiny, but an exact replica.
Sunny Florida. Balmy blue skies, golden sand, crystal clear water. Now I ask you, what could possibly go wrong?
It's warm. What is wrong here? We spend billions on science every year. We can put a man on the moon, but we can't solve one of mankind's fundamental problems. Getting a cold beer on the beach. I've got to do something about this.
As luck would have it, the science world has already been hard at work on the problem.
I think I found the solution. Believe it or not, in this industrial estate just out of Tampa, Florida, scientists have invented the self-chilling beer can.
The Institute for Advanced Beerology.
Dr. Sabin.
Dr. Cullen Sabin has been working on his beer miracle for 20 years. And what he's come up with is one small step for beer, but one giant leap for mankind.
and you rotate the bottom of this, grip the top, rotate the bottom 180 degrees, and in 4 minutes you will have a cold beer.
Sounds wonderful. No chemical reaction or nasty gases are used to chill the beer.
Why don't you do one for me too?
It's true. That wouldn't be fair if only I had one.
And,
all right. So the top, bottom. Oh, yeah, gee, it's pretty simple.
Think you can get by with one?
Yeah, there's 3. 2 of us. That's not fair.
No, goodness.
We better do one.
Whose idea
just
was
one,
that?
Just
yes,
one.
Right, exactly. Yes. One more.
While our scientific experiment chills, it's time to get inside this 4-minute fridge and see how it actually works.
The refrigerator consists of 3 components. A heat absorber, which we call the evaporator because a vapor is formed inside of it, and it sucks heat out of the beer.
The evaporator surrounds the beer in the top of the can. It contains a watery gel. Twisting the can releases the vacuum stored in the bottom of it, sucking water vapour and heat from the gel to the base of the can.
The vapour then flows down into the lower section where it is absorbed in a material which absorbs water vapour.
Desiccant granules, much like the sachets in your camera bag, absorb water vapour and heat from the beer, dropping its temperature by 17 degrees Celsius in just a few minutes.
This is the fastest way to cool a beer that there is, other than pouring the beer directly over ice, and no beer drinker would ever do that because it dilutes the beer.
A beverage company is currently testing the cans for mass production. That is cold. That is amazing. That is amazing.
It is. It's absolutely amazing.
You've solved it. That's it. So now for the $64,000 question. How will all that beer science hit my hip pocket?
Manufacturer has quoted prices to customers and they are not turned off by this.
Must admit, I'd pay a bit for a cold beer on a beach. The extra cost is expected to be similar to the premium you'd pay for a cold can of drink from a vending machine. And really, there are some things you just can't put a price on or test enough. Cheers.
Cheers.
What happens when you take science to the African bush?
Here at the Cheetah Conservation Fund in Namibia, they're working to conserve the remaining population of Namibia's cheetahs.
We'll show you soon. And later, the car built just for one that really is beyond tomorrow.
It's the fastest mammal on Earth. Closing in on its prey at 120 kilometres an hour, the cheetah is built for speed. I'm in Namibia, just above South Africa. It's home to the world's largest cheetah population. But it's halved in the past decade, leaving just 3,000 cats in the wild. Sadly, they're now heading towards extinction. Now there's hope that beyond tomorrow, a unique rescue mission can save the cheetah. Here at the Cheetah Conservation Fund, they're working to conserve the remaining Namibian cheetah population with cutting-edge ecological and reproductive research. It's all happening in a remote outpost that houses a bush research centre. Right now, Adrienne Crozier is the cheetah's best friend. So why is it so important to do fertility on these guys?
Well, nobody really knew anything about cheetah reproductive biology until about 30 years ago. And what they found from the captive animals in North America is that male cheetahs produce a very high level of abnormal sperm.
Latest research from here in Namibia shows wild cheetahs suffer the same reproductive abnormalities. And that's due to an ice age 10,000 years ago, dramatically reducing cheetah numbers and forcing them to inbreed to survive. Adrienne's plan is to capture as many males as possible to find strong bloodlines and build a sperm bank. And farmers are helping that process by trapping problem cheetahs which turn to killing livestock.
Last year we had a coalition of 3 males that caused a lot of problem.
We're not sure how many were they actually, but we lost nearly 30 calves last year, which is, we just confirm that way.
Arthur Baggett-Smith runs a 3,000-hectare cattle property and he's just caught another rogue cheetah. This young male may be the key to the survival of his species. Bonnie Schumann, a senior research assistant with the Conservation Fund, is overseeing the capture.
Okay, Hayden, what I'm going to ask you to do is get on the roof of the cage.
Okay. Relocating this trapped male is dangerous but vital work.
Put it in place. There we go, that's better. Okay. And up she goes, all the way up. Okay, everybody just quiet just to see if it's going to go in.
The art here is to minimise stress and prevent the cheetah from injuring itself.
Well done. One box cheetah.
The captured cat is taken back to Adrienne's lab. He looks young and healthy enough to be a good candidate for strong sperm. Under sedation, he'll be given a full medical.
Bonnie's just asked me to look after the vital signs, respiration, heart rate, and temperature.
So that he's well hydrated. Go for 30 seconds and tell me what you need.
Okay. So 7.
Stop to tip of nose.
A profile is mapped out, including weight and body dimensions.
73. We look at the wear on the tips of the teeth. We look at the yellowing.
The condition of his teeth indicates this is a healthy 5-year-old cheetah.
2.4. Upper premolars.
But DNA sampling is the most telling factor.
We're just plucking hair out by the roots. The root follicle is, we can get DNA from that.
Okay. But it's his fertility that's under the microscope.
Slide warmer.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, if you have a look at there, in the middle, is there one that looks like it's abnormal? Right in the middle, going around its circle?
Yeah, definitely. There's quite a few that are abnormal, and it's about 80% on average as far as the level of abnormality. It's quite
obvious,
high.
isn't it?
Quite, yes, very obvious.
Yeah.
You see a lot of them swimming in circles, even swimming, it looks like they're swimming backwards sometimes.
Disappointingly, this male bears the same abnormalities that dominate the cheetah population. But regardless, he'll be logged in the International Sperm Register.
And that's really important because if you have an animal, say in Australia, and they'd be a perfect genetic match for an animal in California, you can then collect a sperm sample like we've done, freeze it, and ship the frozen sperm sample, rather than worrying about shipping an animal halfway around the world.
He's getting a little bit light, so we've got to get this done.
Hopefully we'll know about it.
Already the sedative is beginning to wear off. Just enough time to give our patient an ID tag. He's number 616. Tomorrow, he'll be released. A new day, and our young cheetah is taken far from the farms to stake out new territory.
It's open. Okay, you ready?
Yep. That has to be one of the most incredible experiences. Cheetah 616, back where he belongs. Beautiful stuff. It's wonderful work like this that the Cheetah Conservation Fund are doing in Namibia that's going to ensure the survival of this magnificent species.
Forget Ghostbusters, these guys are for real. You're about to meet the Beyond Tomorrow Mythbusters. Don't go away. Friends, workmates and the internet are full of them. Most of us have heard dozens since our school days, those weird and wonderful tales that have come to be known as urban myths. And as technology advances into every corner of our life, so do the myths. Like if you're trapped in a falling lift, can you survive by jumping at the last second before impact? Or can bug bombs blow up a house? Well, we've found two men whose mission it is to know this stuff. Adam Savage.
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
And Jamie Heineman.
I kind of like it in here, it's private.
Between them, 30 years of special effects experience. They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. And tonight the Mythbusters test a well-known theory that has a disturbing ring of truth. Check out the signposted warnings next time you fill up your car. Can your mobile phone really blow up a petrol station?
So what are we doing at the Stoke Gas and Oil Memorabilia Town in Santa Rosa, California?
Well, we're here to see whether you can accidentally blow up a gas station with a cell phone.
And even if we fail, do we still get to blow something up?
Oh yeah.
Excellent.
Now we do know fires happen in petrol stations, but are mobile phones to blame? The boys have a cunning plan to find out.
We're going to need a big blast chamber, something large enough to contain a large explosion and protect us, and also to control environmental conditions like humidity and temperature and that kind of thing. We're going to need gas and a way to get it in there in a vapor form, and we're going to put a cell phone in there and call it and see what happens.
There is another theory to explain the myth that fires at petrol stations are caused by static electricity.
It seems that women are largely responsible for the gas station explosions, specifically because they get in and out of their cars while filling up. And so they'll build up a static charge on their body, and then when they touch either the gas tank lip or the filler nozzle, that will ignite the gas and cause an explosion.
Pure and simple, we don't have any accidents involving a cell phone at a service station. It just doesn't happen.
Bob Rinkies knows his fires and points out that the problem only happens in those countries that allow unattended fuel nozzles to be left in the car while filling. This demo shows how little sparks cause big problems.
They're typically younger people, because older people will go like this to get out of their car. And when they do that, they discharge. So they just simply pop out of the car, not touch anything, not shut the door, not ground themselves, not touch this. They'll take 1, 2 steps. They're wearing neoprene shoes, so they're not discharging, they're not dissipating on the concrete. They touch a piece of metal here. The vapors are coming out of the tank. The air is coming in from outside, so that's 2 parts of the fire triangle, and the third part is a source of ignition, which is the spark. The problem comes is when they overreact, they go, oh my goodness, and they leave a stream of gasoline. They already have a fire, it gets underneath the car, or they could get it on themselves.
Synthetic underwear seems to be the culprit. The boys acquire some shocking panties and a car seat and apply some myth-busting know-how to create a spark.
I don't see any sparks.
Watch this.
Ooh. Now they have the spark, it's time to carry out the test. Can static electricity cause an explosion? Inside the booth, the boys have added fuel. It mixes with the air, add a spark, and hopefully it goes boom.
I'm fine. Am I missing an eyebrow? I am missing an eyebrow, aren't I?
You lost a lot of air up there too.
You're kidding me.
No. You're all right. It won't look weird after a day or two.
So static electricity is definitely a suspect. But what about the mobile phone? The boys decide to put them both to the test.
I rigged up the cell phone in there.
Okay.
When I call it, it says detonate.
Very cute. Okay, we're going to start the fuel. You guys ready?
They've replicated their explosive mixture of fuel and air, and Adam's manning the phone.
Okay.
Go behind the thing. Calling now. Hello, explosion. Hello? Hello? He never answers his phone.
The boys know the phone puts out maximum power the moment it receives a call, but there's just no bang.
Jamie wants big boom.
Down, boy. Down, boy.
That'd seem to put the mobile phone myth to rest. It just doesn't have a spark. So the boys call for more firepower. Let's see what happens when you apply a real spark to the same mixture.
Stand by.
I feel like something's going to happen this time.
In 3, 2, 1.
Wow, I forgot to watch. That was really cool.
Myth busted?
Absolutely. This myth is definitely busted. No cell phone will ever cause a gas station to ignite. Just not going to happen.
I agree.
Mobile phones busted. Next week, the guys tackle a myth that's famous amongst construction workers. Falling from a height into water can kill you, just as if it were solid ground. But what if you break the surface tension of the water by throwing a hammer in first? Can it save your life? Find out next week on Beyond Tomorrow. Now this might be almost too good to believe, but it's definitely not a myth. That's next.
Imagine if you could look into a crystal ball and see all the weird and wonderful gadgets and technology that will make our lives easier and more fun. Well, that's what we're going to do. Come on, let's take a glimpse at the future. This is Toyota's vision, where cars are out and personal movers are in. Say hello to iFoot. He's at the top end of three-dimensional robotic movement. Controlled with a joystick, iFoot climbs up and down stairs and has a top speed of about 1.5 kilometres per hour. But if iFoot doesn't take your fancy, try this. I'm in the driver's seat. This is an iUnit. It's lithium battery powered, fully recyclable, amazingly manoeuvrable, and is touch operated. This orb here is pretty special. It recognises the owner and allows music and communications. And with the press of a button, it morphs into sports mode. Right. Oh my gosh, I've got blinkers! These zappy little iUnits are as yet just prototypes. You won't see them on the streets. But they certainly make you think.
Don't know about you, but I really want one of those cars. But for now, from our very first show, it's farewell. Check out our website at beyondtomorrow.com.au. We'll explore more on Beyond Tomorrow next week. And here's what you'll see.